Human restored her wings so she could fly again. Now she refuses to leave the night he found her. The sky was burning. A scorched wing aliens over feathers broken. Body trembling elapsed at the edge of the human settlement, whispering a single plea before losing consciousness. Most would have called for soldiers. Others would have walked away. But Evan didn't move. He knelt beside her, feeling the rapid flutter of her failing heartbeat beneath his palms. Her wings, once beautiful, lay twisted like fallen metal. She needed help, and for reasons he couldn't explain, he felt drawn to save her. He didn't know that fixing her wings would bind them together in ways neither of their worlds could undo. The storm had been threatening the valley for hours, but the clouds didn't break until the moment Evan saw the silhouette fall from the sky. He had been outside repairing the old antenna dish on his workshop roof when a silver streak tore through the storm clouds like a blade. It wasn't a meteor. It moved too deliberately, too desperately. Lightning forked across the sky, illuminating the shape wings long and luminous even as they twisted violently in the wind. Then another strike hit, blinding white, and the figure plummeted. Evan didn't think. He ran. The rain came down hard and cold, slapping the ground in chaotic rhythms. The fields behind his workshop turned slick underfoot as he sprinted toward the valley edge. He wasn't a soldier. He wasn't a hero. He was just a mechanic who happened to be awake at the right or wrong moment. But something in his chest pulled him forward, a strange urgency he didn't understand. Maybe he would regret it later. Maybe this thing falling from the sky was dangerous, but it was falling like something broken, and he knew broken things. He fixed them every day. By the time he reached the impact site, steam was rising from the cracked earth. The air smelled of scorched feathers and burning ozone. A shallow crater had formed, glowing faintly with residual heat. Evan slowed, panting, squinting through the rain. She lay there, her body curled, feathers scattered around her like fragments of shattered moonlight. Her wings, once magnificent, were twisted unnaturally beneath her. Feathers bent and ripped out at the roots. Her skin held a faint, iridescent shimmer beneath streaks of ash. Silver eyes cracked open, weakly as he approached. She wasn't human, but she wasn't a monster either. Her voice was barely a whisper, fragile as a dying breeze. Please, not soldiers. Don't take me to them. Evan crouched, hands raised. Hey, I'm not with the military. I'm just trying to help. Her pupils constricted sharply, adjusting to the rain, the darkness, him. She inhaled with a trembling hiss, trying to push herself up, but collapsed with a cry as one of her wings shifted. He swallowed, adrenaline surging. That wing, it was bad. Bone misaligned. Joints twisted. Feathers burned. He wasn't a doctor, but he'd fixed enough structural failures to know when something needed immediate stabilization. You're injured, he said gently. Let me move you. I have tools. A med. I can help. Humans do not help Skyborn, she whispered, voice cracking. Not anymore. He didn't know what that meant. Most people on the colony had never seen a Skyborn and heard rumors of the winged species that lived far above the atmosphere, only descending in emergencies or war. Some said they were angels, some said they were invaders, but right now she was just a girl in pain. Evan took off his jacket, stepping closer. I'm helping you. Just stay awake for me. Her eyes fluttered. You touch my wing, and I may kill you. Well, he muttered, sliding the jacket under her shoulders. Kill me later. You won't survive this storm. Lightning cracked again. She flinched and went limp. Evan acted fast, lifting her carefully, mindful of her wings. She was lighter than she looked, almost weightless, like her bones were hollow. But when her left wing brushed his arm, he felt heat radiating from it, a feverish burn that wasn't natural. She shivered violently. He tightened his grip. Rain drummed against her feathers with a sound like broken glass falling. Stay with me, he murmured as he carried her toward his workshop. Her head lolled against his shoulder. Why? Why would a human? Her voice faded, but she forced one more whisper out. Choose to save me. He didn't have an answer he could form into words, so he kept walking. The workshop door screeched open as he kicked it with his heel. The warm, dim interior felt like another world compared to the storm outside. Tools littered the tables. Spare machine parts hung from the walls. He laid her gently on the main workbench, spreading a blanket beneath her. Her wings sprawled out over the metal surface, trembling. He winced. They were even worse up-close, feathers charred, joints swollen, delicate bones jutting at wrong angles. Okay, he breathed, grabbing clean cloths, disinfectant, and the emergency med. Let's do this carefully. Her hand shot out suddenly and grabbed his wrist, startling him. Her grip was surprisingly strong despite her condition. Do not remove feathers, she rasped. They hold memory. He nodded. I won't. Her grip loosened, but didn't fully leave him. She watched him with mistrust, fear, but also something he couldn't name. He examined the wing, moving slowly, hands gentle. She winced with every touch but didn't pull away. The bleeding had slowed. Burned sections needed cleaning. The bone he swallowed. It was out of place. Badly. Fixable, but painful. This is going to hurt, he warned. Do it. He braced one hand under the joint, pressed firmly on the bone, and pushed. Her scream shook the walls. Feathers flared bright white, illuminating the entire workshop in blinding pulses. Evan held the bone steady until it slid back into place with a sickening click. Her breathing came in jagged gasps. Tears formed but didn't fall skyborne. Tears evaporated before they touched air. He vaguely remembered hearing once. When the pain subsided, she collapsed back, exhausted. Evan wiped sweat from his brow, heart racing. "You're still alive," he murmured. "Unfortunately," she whispered. He almost laughed. "You've got a sense of humor." "That's good. It was not intended as humor." Now he did laugh quietly. Her wings shifted, feathers rustling faintly. "What is your name, human?" she asked, voice barely above a breath. "Evan." Her silver eyes softened only slightly. "I am Kayla." He nodded. "I'm going to have to build you a brace. Something to hold the wings steady while the bone heals." Her gaze flickered over the metal shelves filled with his creations. "You fix broken things." He nodded. "That's what I do." Her eyes closed, and a whisper escaped her. "Then fix me, Evan." Outside, thunder cracked. Shadows shifted against the window. Rain sliced down harder than before. Dot and neither of them noticed the faint red glimmer blinking in the tree line and unseen, mechanical eye recording everything. Someone else knew exactly where she had fallen. Someone who would not let her simply heal and disappear. The storm outside was not the only one closing in. Evan barely slept that night. He sat beside the workbench where Kayla lay, her wings trembling under the brace he had built from scavenged alloys and flexible polymer joints. The lamp above her cast a soft amber glow across her feathers, revealing subtle patterns he hadn't noticed before, ripples of faint luminescence shifting beneath the surface, moving in time with her heartbeat. She was recovering, but slowly, too slowly. Every few minutes she twitched, reacting to phantom pain. Every so often she whispered fragmented skyborn words in her sleep, words that sounded like warnings, or memories, or the names of people she feared she would never see again. Outside, the storm raged on. Rain hammered the tin roof, wind howled against the shutters, and distant thunder rolled across the valley like a restless giant. Normally the sound soothed him. Tonight it felt like an omen. Just after dawn, Kayla stirred. Her eyes fluttered open, silver irises reflecting the workshop lights like liquid metal. She blinked at Evan, confusion flickering across her features before recognition settled in. "You stayed." He rubbed the back of his neck. "Someone had to keep an eye on you. Make sure nothing got worse." Her gaze drifted briefly to the brace encasing her left wing. She flexed it slightly, wincing but not crying out. "This does not feel natural," she murmured. "But it is stable." "Good," he said, relief softening his voice. "The bone should set in a day or two. After that, we focus on feathers, muscle, realignment." "I know what healing requires," she interrupted gently. "I fear what time requires." He frowned. "What do you mean?" Kayla pushed herself up, shivering as her wings shifted behind her. She looked toward the window, toward the forest beyond. "They will search for me," she whispered. "Skyborn do not lose their own without consequences." Evan moved closer. "You said last night that your own people wanted something from you, that you were running from them." She nodded slowly. "There are factions in the upper skies. Some want peace with humans. Others wish to conquer. I carry knowledge they believe should not exist. When they realized I would not serve them, they came for me, and shot you out of the sky." "No," she said, a bitter edge entering her voice. "Those who shot me were not Skyborn." He felt his pulse spike. "Not Sk." Kayla lowered her eyes. "There are humans who hunt us for profit. They take our feathers, carve our bones, and sell them as relics. It is forbidden by treaty, but treaties mean little to those who live outside your laws." Evan's jaw tightened. He had heard rumors, illicit traders, black markets, feathers worth entire fortunes, but he had never believed they were real. "Kayla," he said quietly, "you need rest. You're a—" Beeping noise cut him off. A small red light was blinking on his monitor, motion alert from one of the security cams he had installed around the property. Someone was out there. Kayla tensed instantly, feathers pulling tight against her back. "Who is it?" "I don't know," he muttered, rushing toward the screens. Rain distorted the image, but he could make out figures moving near the tree line. 3, maybe 4, humanoid, armored, not military. Hunters. Kaela. "Saw it too." She inhaled sharply, her breath trembling. "They found me." Evan grabbed a heavy wrench from his tool rack and locked the workshop doors. "Stay down. Don't move. I'll handle this." "You cannot fight them," she insisted, struggling to stand. "Even a Skyborn fears them." "Well, I'm not planning to fight," he said. "I'm planning to buy you time." He turned to face her, but she grabbed his wrist, her grip desperate. "Evan, if they capture me, I will not survive. They will rip my wings apart. They will tear my memories out of my feathers. That is how they learn our secrets." He froze. Her feathers held memory. "I won't let that happen," he said. Keller's fingers tightened. "Promise me." "I promise." For a moment, they simply stared at each other, the storm outside pounding like a heartbeat. Then a loud crash echoed across the yard as something slammed against the outer fence. Evan moved to the window, pulling aside the curtain just enough to see. 4 armored figures approached through the rain, their visors glowing with infrared targeting lights. One carried a net gun, another held what looked like a magnetic harpoon. The third had wings, Artificial ones, jet palette, metallic, ugly dot. These weren't amateur poachers. These were professionals. Keller's breath quickened. They will breach the workshop. Not if we move, Evan said. Move, she echoed. He pointed to the trapdoor beneath his workbench. Underground storage tunnel. It leads to the old irrigation channels. They won't know about it. Kayla swallowed hard, trying to stand. Pain shot through her wing and she staggered. Evan caught her before she hit the ground, his arms wrapping around her instinctively. She froze, startled. You touch me as if I am fragile, she whispered. You are. Her gaze softened, but there was no time for more. The first hunter reached the workshop door and began cutting through it with a plasma blade. Evan guided Kayla toward the trapdoor, but she dragged her feet, looking back at him. You will come with me, she said. Of course, he replied. I'm not leaving you. But in a moment of clarity, Kayla saw the truth. He was planning to distract the hunters, to protect her escape, to sacrifice himself. No, she hissed. I feel your heartbeat. I feel your intention. You would die for me. Evan froze. How could you possibly? Our bond began the moment you repaired my wing, she said, voice trembling. Skyborn senses are not like human ones. I feel you. I feel your fear, your pain, your resolve. He hesitated, but before he could speak, the workshop door exploded inward. The hunters stormed through the smoke. Kayla shoved Evan into the trapdoor with a burst of strength he didn't expect. The metal brace on her wing sparked as she turned to face the hunters, feathers flaring. Evan shouted from below. She looked down at him, her expression fierce and devastatingly calm. You fixed my wings so I could fly again, she whispered, but I will not fly away from you. Then she leapt into the air, broken, braced, trembling yet still rising. She met the hunters. Head dash on. Light burst from her feathers. The workshop shook, and Evan realized, with terror and awe, that Kayla was no longer running. She was fighting for him. Kayla hovered just above the ruined workshop floor, wings straining against the metal braces that Evan had built. Rain plastered her feathers to her back, each droplet catching the faint glow emanating from her plumage, turning her into a living prism of silver and white. Below, Evan struggled to pull himself out of the trapdoor, mud and blood mixing with rainwater as he climbed to the top, wrench in hand. He could see the hunters approaching, moving with precision, their weapons glinting like black teeth against the stormlit backdrop. They were fast, efficient, relentless. But Kayla was faster, or at least something in her defiance made her appear untouchable. The first hunter raised a harpoon and fired. The projectile hissed through the air, tracing a deadly line toward her chest. Kayla reacted instinctively, flaring her wings in a sudden arc. Sparks shot from the braces as energy from her feathers collided with the harpoon, melting the metal before it reached her. The sound was deafening, a sharp pop that reverberated across the valley like a gunshot, but she didn't flinch. Instead, she tilted sideways, letting the momentum carry her upward, toward the jagged roofline of the workshop. Evan's heart pounded in his chest. Every instinct screamed at him to stay low, to avoid exposure, but he couldn't. He had to see her. Not just see, but witness her defiance, the way she refused to submit. He scrambled out, wrench ready, only to be met by the second hunter who had flanked him from the opposite side. The hunter swung a stun baton, and Evan barely ducked in time, feeling the electricity crackle dangerously close to his hair. He lunged forward, striking the hunter with the wrench, the blow landing squarely on the helmet, sending sparks flying. The hunter staggered but recovered almost immediately. Evan's mind raced. There was no way he could fight all of them and survive. His only option was to keep Kayla alive, keep her distraction enough to buy them both time. Above him, Kayla's wings arched wide, the braces humming and glowing in response to her heartbeat. She spun in midair, sending a shockwave down onto the approaching hunters. One of them was thrown backward, crashing into the broken workbench with a deafening crunch. Another raised his weapon, aiming a pulse rifle at her midsection. Kayla twisted, barely avoiding the beam, feathers sparking against the hail of energy. Her brace emitted a blinding flash, momentarily disabling the rifle's targeting system. Evan's breath caught. He had no idea she could generate energy like this. He had only fixed the wings, he thought. He had never imagined them holding this kind of raw, luminous power. Each movement she made was a dance of light and shadow, wings flaring and twisting, feathers like molten silver. The rain whipped past her, turning her into a streak of brilliance in the stormy night. Kayla, Evan shouted, his voice almost lost to the howling wind. She looked down at him, eyes shimmering with molten silver. They're going to flank you. She didn't respond with words. Instead, she dove straight at the nearest hunter, landing with a thunderous impact that made the earth shake. The hunter reeled back, weapon dropping as Kayla struck again. A flurry of wing beats creating gusts of wind that knocked the others off balance. Evan's fingers tightened around the wrench. He wanted to run, to hide, to do anything but stand there watching her risk herself. But then he saw her falter. One wing braced awkwardly, sparks flickering violently across the metal frame. She twisted in midair, pain flashing in her eyes, and for the first time since he met her, she seemed vulnerable. He ran, slipping in the mud, and reached for her as she hovered above the remaining hunters. Kayla, he yelled, but she ignored him. She would not leave, could not leave, not yet. The hunters regrouped, forming a tight semicircle around her, weapons raised and firing in unison. Keller's wings flared a dazzling array of silver and white energy, deflecting the projectiles, but it was exhausting her. Sparks ran across her feathers in irregular patterns, braces straining, and Evan realized that every second she stayed airborne was taking a toll on her body. "Kayla, listen to me," he screamed, ducking another stray bolt as he moved toward her. "You can't do this alone." She shot him a glance, and in that moment he understood. It wasn't about fighting alone. She had no intention of being alone anymore. The bond they had forged, the Skymark, he didn't fully understand yet, wasn't just a connection of life and heartbeat. It was a tether of trust. She had chosen him. With a sudden, graceful pivot, Kayla swooped downward, wings whipping violently, feathers sparking in arcs of pure energy. She landed beside Evan, both of them crouched behind the remnants of a fallen support beam. The hunters hesitated, uncertain, sensing the sudden intensity in her aura, as if the air itself crackled with latent power. "We need to move," Evan panted. "There's a tunnel beneath the workshop. It leads out to the irrigation channels. We can lose them there." Kayla nodded, her wings folding carefully but still trembling. "I will not leave you," she whispered. "I'm not asking you to," Evan replied, placing a hand against her side to steady her. He could feel the warmth of her body, the rapid flutter of her heartbeat, the energy radiating faintly through the braces. They moved as one, slipping through the debris of the workshop and into the hidden trapdoor Evan had reinforced months ago. The tunnel was dark, damp, and narrow. Water dripped from the ceiling, puddling on the stone floor. Kayla moved carefully, her wings tucked close to her sides to avoid scraping the walls. Evan could hear her labored breathing beside him, smell the faint metallic scent of her feathers mingled with the earthy damp of the underground passage. "Are they still following?" she asked, voice low. "Probably," Evan admitted, "but it's tight down here. Hard for them to track us in these channels. Just keep moving." She nodded, though her eyes darted to the faint glow of the braces, worried about overexertion. Her feathers rustled softly, creating a low hum that echoed against the tunnel walls. Evan realized, for the first time, that the glow wasn't just illumination. It was part of her being, a manifestation of life and resilience. They reached a wider chamber where water pooled to ankle height. Evan stopped, setting his hand against her arm. "You need to rest," he said, "even a few moments. You can't keep expending this much energy." Kayla shook her head. "I cannot. If I stop, they will catch us. They will take my wings. I cannot survive that again." Evan swallowed. He knew she was right. He had seen the damage, the terror, the near-death she had endured. "Then I'll rest," he said, "right here with you." We moved together. She looked at him, eyes softening with something between awe and relief. "You do not fear?" she asked. "Not while I'm with you," he replied. For the first time in what felt like hours, she allowed herself a small smile. Her wings flexed, the braces glowing faintly but stably. They were both exhausted, but neither would admit it. Their breaths synchronized as they prepared to continue, moving deeper into the labyrinthine tunnels that could mean freedom or death. Above, the rain continued to hammer the workshop. Outside, the hunters regrouped, frustrated, scanning the perimeter. Keller's energy had driven them back, but they would not relent. Evan could feel it in the distant vibrations through the stone floor. They were relentless, they were patient, but Kayla and Evan were no longer alone in spirit. The bond between them, fragile and glowing, tethered them together. He could feel it, even here, even in the dark, even beneath the ground, and he knew, the moment they emerged, the real test would begin. They had escaped the workshop, but the storm outside, the hunters and Keller's fragile body meant the fight was far from over. And yet, Evan understood one undeniable truth. She would not leave him behind, and he would not leave her in the underground silence. As water lapped at their feet and Kayla flexed her braces, they waited. Both knew that the next move, whether by air or by the ground, would decide everything, and neither of them would back down. The underground tunnels opened onto the cliffs overlooking the storm-battered valley. Rain lashed at them in sheets, cold and heavy, but Evan barely noticed. He pulled himself upright beside Kayla, who was trembling slightly as her wings extended. The braces hummed faintly, pulsing in rhythm with her heartbeat. Every movement she made sent sparks of energy dancing along the metal supports. She was beautiful, terrifying, and radiant all at once. A creature who belonged both in the skies and in some realm he could never hope to understand. "They've regrouped," Evan said, scanning the tree line below. He could see the hunters moving methodically, glowing visors cutting through the storm. They hadn't given up. They would never give up. "We'll have to fight our way down." Kayla turned toward him, eyes bright silver, feathers bristling with restrained energy. "No," she said softly, almost a whisper. "We do not fight them. Not yet. There is a reason they hunted me. A reason more dangerous than their weapons." Evan frowned. "What reason?" Keller's gaze drifted upward, toward the dark clouds where lightning streaked the sky. "I am not merely skyborn," she said. "I am a hybrid, half human, half sky. My mother descended to the surface decades ago, a forbidden union. My father was human. I was never meant to exist. They seek the secret I carry, my power, my lineage. It threatens their control." Evan's mind reeled. Hybrid. That explained the energy, the resilience, the strange bond he felt when he had first touched her wings. That explained the sky mark, the pulse he had sensed when he healed her. But it raised more questions than it answered. What does that mean for us? Kayla stepped closer, wings still spread wide, energy arcing in subtle flashes across the braces. It means you cannot leave me, she said. The bond you created when you repaired my wings, when you touched me, anchored my essence to yours. We are tethered now. I feel your heartbeat, your fear, your resolve. You feel mine. If I fall, you will feel it. If you fall, I cannot survive alone. Evan's chest tightened. He had never believed in fate or destiny, but standing there in the pouring rain, staring into her silver eyes, he could not deny the truth of her words. Then I won't let you fall, he said, voice firm despite the tremor in his own limbs. Kayla gave him a faint, almost imperceptible nod. Her feathers flared brighter, the metal braces adjusting automatically, humming with a low, resonant vibration. She flexed her wings, testing them. Then we fly together, she said. Above. The hunters began to advance. One of them activated a jet thruster, lifting slightly off the ground, metallic wings flaring in the storm. Another fired a net gun, the projectile slicing through the rain like a blade. Kayla's wings snapped upward, intercepting the net midair. Sparks erupted where the metal braces met the synthetic fibers. She twisted gracefully, energy cascading down like molten silver onto the hunter below. Evan followed her lead, running to the cliff edge. He had no weapons capable of standing against their advanced tech, but he didn't hesitate. If she could confront them, so could he. Kayla, he yelled, we can do this. She shot him a glance, and for the first time, Evan saw her hesitate, not with fear, but calculation. Her wings twitched, energy pulsing along the braces. Then she looked down at him and, almost imperceptibly, her feathers shimmered in a pattern that he instinctively recognized as a signal, a sky mark. The bond between them flared, and he felt her strength, her courage, her determination filling his chest, coursing through his limbs. He didn't need to see the calculations or the tactics. He knew what to do. With a burst of speed, Kayla launched herself into the stormy sky. Her wings, glowing and radiant, carved through the rain, creating gusts that swept the hunters off balance. She dove, rose, and twisted, each movement a symphony of light and energy. Evan followed, jumping from the cliff, using a grappling line he had secured earlier. Swinging himself into the path of the nearest hunter, he collided with them mid-air, wrench in hand, knocking the weapon from their grip. Kayla's energy washed over the remaining hunters. Sparks and arcs of light disoriented them. The braces, once merely supportive, now acted as conduits, amplifying her inherent hybrid energy. She was not just defending herself. She was transcending the limitations of her broken body. Every beat of her wings, every flex of her muscles, sent shockwaves that echoed across the cliffs and into the valley below. One hunter aimed a high-powered blaster directly at Kayla. She hesitated, not out of fear, but because the trajectory meant Evan could be hit. Without thinking, he pushed off a ledge, slamming into the hunter just as Kayla's wings intercepted the shot. The impact sent both of them tumbling through the rain, feathers and sparks flying. When Evan hit the ground, he groaned, pain radiating through his ribs. But he saw Kayla hovering above him, energy flaring brighter than ever. She's incredible, he muttered, gasping for breath. Not just incredible, Kayla said, her voice carrying over the storm. Hybrid, power amplified. But even hybrids need choice. And I choose you. Evan's heart raced. He barely processed the words before the final hunter advanced, weapon raised, stepping onto a rocky outcrop. Kayla dove, wings angled perfectly, catching the hunter in a beam of energy that lifted him off the ground, tossing him backward into the jagged rocks below. Evan watched, awestruck, as she landed gracefully beside him. Her feathers glimmered, braces stabilizing, wings still vibrating with raw power. She looked at him, her silver eyes locking onto his. I will not leave, she said, voice steady, unwavering, even if it means standing against the entire world. He reached for her hand, and the moment his fingers touched hers, the sky mark flared like lightning through both of them. They felt it, not just connection but fusion. His heartbeat matched hers, his breath synchronized. He could feel her strength, her fears, her hopes, and she could feel his above them. The storm began to break, lightning fading into the soft hues of dawn. The hunters were defeated, scattered, but the bond between Evan and Kayla was no longer fragile. It was permanent, unshakable. Something neither the skies nor the storms nor human greed could undo. Kayla flexed her wings one final time, energy settling, feathers shimmering like polished silver. Together, she said. Always. Evan smiled, exhausted, soaked to the bone, but exhilarated beyond measure. Always, he echoed. She lifted him effortlessly, wings spreading wide, glowing in the dawn light. They rose together above the cliffs, the valley stretching below them, washed clean by rain. Below, the forest shimmered, untouched and alive, as if acknowledging their union, their defiance. And as they ascended, Evan realized the truth. He hadn't just saved her wings. She hadn't just refused to leave. They had found each other in a world designed to keep them apart, and nothing could sever that bond. Not the hunters, not the storms, not even the boundaries of species and sky. They were no longer human and sky. They were something new, something powerful, something unstoppable. Kayla hovered for a moment, wings beating slowly, energy settling. Then she smiled at him, a mixture of mischief, relief, and devotion that made his chest ache. "We will need to find a place for us," she said softly. "I know," he replied, feeling her pulse through his own heartbeat. "But right now, let's fly." Together, they rose higher, leaving the valley, the storm, and the hunters far behind. Dawn spread across the horizon, painting the world in gold and silver. And for the first time in both their lives, Evan and Kayla felt freedom, real freedom. Her wings stretched, powerful and healed, radiating light through the mist. And she did not descend again, not because she couldn't, because she refused to. She was home, and so was he. The storm had passed. The world remained wide and dangerous, but Evan and Kayla would face it together, tethered by more than wings, more than blood, more than fate. They were tethered by choice, by courage, and by the bond forged in fire, rain, and light. Above the valley, the first rays of the sun broke through the clouds, catching on her feathers, dazzling, iridescent, alive. The hybrid who should not exist had chosen to stay, and the human who fixed her wings had chosen to rise with her. And for the first time in his life, Evan understood the meaning of flight, not the kind that lifted you from the ground, the kind that bound hearts and souls, unbreakable and eternal. Together, they flew,